Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Destiny video, and in this video I want to speak in more detail about the upcoming private matches that we're going to be seeing added to Destiny come Rise of Iron. I mentioned in my last video, if you guys saw that I was going to follow up with a video speaking about everything you need to know, and this is that video. So if you guys do enjoy this, you do find it helpful, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below and let me know what you think about this, but let's get started. So first, yes, this is super exciting. We have been asking for custom matches since day one of Destiny, so to finally have them added is a really exciting time. But what exactly can you do in private matches? Well, first up, it is designed, of course, so that you can kind of create your own custom experiences. So when you are creating your own private match, to begin with, the most basic things, you can choose the map you're playing on, you can choose the game mode, so all the existing game modes, although weirdly in the gameplay that we saw, I didn't see combined arms, which is kind of my favourite one. But either way, they did say it would include all of the current game modes. Now do bear in mind that does not include the timely events, so things like Crimson Doubles and SRL, because that's considered a PvP. So just kind of think conventional things like Control, Clash, Rumble, Mayhem, etc. All of those ones you can choose from. You can of course choose the score limit. You can choose whether or not you want to enable or disable light levels. So for example, if you want it to be like Iron Banner or Trials of Osiris, then you can enable light so that way your gear and your weapons and your stats matter, or you can of course disable it so that it's just a even balanced playing field like the majority of other modes. On top of that, you can also change the time of day if you want to, and also the time limit, but beyond that you are then still constrained to the regular Destiny convention, so to speak. So you don't have the ability to fine-tune loads of crazy things like when and how much heavy ammo spawns, or, you know, locking it so that people can only use a certain type of weapon. Anything like that would just have to be mutually agreed between you and your team. So, you know, if you went in and said, hey, let's have an only hand cannons match, you just kind of sort of need to agree that with each other and just say, let's actually stick to that. There are no additional options to kind of fix that in place. Now, Bungie did, of course, acknowledge that these are things that players will most likely want in the future, but for the time being, what they've implemented, they've said is a good starting ground. So that does, of course, suggest that they are maybe open to adding more options to this in the future, but for the time being, given that we've wanted these for a very long time, then this is plenty to work with. Now on top of that, it's worth mentioning that of course Destiny matches typically 6v6 unless you're playing some of the smaller modes. When you are creating private matches, however, you can assemble all 12 people in orbit. Now do bear in mind you can't then go and take all these guys to the tower or into a raid for like a crazy 12-man raid. It is literally just, if you select private matches, then you can assemble both teams in the lobby, in orbit, and of course during that time you can switch between teams, you can jump around, and of course you can then go from there. Also, it's worth mentioning that while there is no complete clan support, when you do set up a private match, your clan will be shown very clearly, so there is a little bit more emphasis on, you know, joining a clan or being part of one, because of course you get a little bit more visibility on that, but still no complete clan support. Now, outside of that, while I did say you can still have 12 people in the lobby, you cannot exceed the regular team size. So you couldn't have a team of, say, 7 versus a team of 5. You can have unbalanced teams if you wanted. So you could do, say, 6v1, 3v2, 5v4, anything like that. But you couldn't, say, go and have, like, 7, 8, 9, 10 people on one team and then the rest on everything else. But you can also do 1v0 if you wanted to, so if you did want to go around and explore the map, take some screenshots, learn the map layout if it's a new map, or get ready for a tournament, anything like that, then you can also do that. And of course do bear in mind that this is a great opportunity for things like Machinima, since the introduction of the option to turn the HUD off, and pair that with the fact that there's this kind of funny sword glitch you can do to completely remove anything from the screen, then this definitely lays the foundations for some really awesome Machinima. Now returning to private matches for a second, few other things you guys need to know. Firstly, you can switch between teams while you're in the lobby, but you can also switch teams whilst you are playing the game. Your friends can also join in progress whilst you are playing the game, although there doesn't appear to be a spectate option, so for the time being it is just you can only join if there are slots. Also, interestingly, you can actually make some kind of progress in private matches. If you've ever played custom matches or private matches in other games, typically any sort of progression is completely and utterly locked out, but Bungie decided to give people a few things that they can do in these private matches. Now, you can earn gear, but you can't earn anything that is end game worthy, so you'll only earn up to rare gear, i.e. blue. You won't earn legendary, nor will you earn exotics, so basically any gear you do earn will largely be throwaway, unless of course you happen to snag a class item or something like that. But still, Either way, nothing relevant on the gear department. You can, however, still gain weapon XP. You can also complete Crucible bounties, and you can also earn faction rep whilst in Crucible matches. Now, yes, admittedly, that does mean people could then just go and farm it themselves, but either way, those activities or the things that are tied to the private matches aren't drastically game-changing. I mean, yes, okay, you could rank up your factions and get some faction packages, which in turn leads to gear or weapons, but ultimately when you look at the array of options available endgame, you know, raid gear, trials gear, Iron Banner gear, Iron Lord gear, Archon's Forge gear, all that stuff, then it's really not going to be that much of an issue. And also, on top of all of that XP that you can earn, you can also earn Glimmer. But again, it's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things, so it's not really that difficult when you consider that Glimmer is also not that hard to come by. Now, the final big thing for this, and this is kind of a big ticket item, is that private matches will be available to everyone that owns Destiny on PS4 and Xbox One, even if you don't own Rise of Iron. So if you have vanilla Destiny, or maybe you've got Dark Below, House of Wolves, Taken King, but you haven't upgraded to Rise of Iron, you can still play private matches. Of course, you won't have access to the new maps that have been added in Rise of Iron, nor will you have access to the new mode like Supremacy, but you will have access to private matches. So if you are a Guardian who isn't necessarily sure whether or not you want to upgrade to Rise of Iron just yet, you will still be able to have fun messing around in private matches, creating some machinima with your friends, or doing anything like that that you want to, even if you don't have the expansion. Now, besides that, there's not really much else to talk about, except for the fact that they are going to be supporting tournaments going forward. Now, the introduction of private matches means you can quite simply just set up your own fun, friendly tournaments, but for the people out there that do actually want to take things a little bit more seriously and run actual tournaments, then there is a tournament license that people can get, and this will then allow them to host their own tournaments that can actually have prize pools. For that, I will link a post down below, because it's basically a pretty long post that talks about all the terms and conditions, the things you can do, things you can't do, all the kind of legal stuff and whatnot. So for anyone that's actually seriously looking at kind of setting up Destiny tournaments, then of course you can find that link down below. But besides that, it's just a chance for you to have fun with your friends. So in summary, when this drops in Rise of Iron in September, you will now have the freedom to create the experiences that you want to. So for any of you guys that have decided to do some wacky things in the Crucible in the past, be that hide and seek, machinima, or any random fun games, anything like that is now going to be within our grasp. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below and let me know if you have any questions. But aside from that, take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.